$1 million used to feel like the retirement finish line. For a really long time, that was the number that many people chased. It meant freedom, security, and the ability to finally relax. However, many people are reaching that number today and they still feel anxious. The issue is not that $1 million is a small amount of money, because it's not. No, instead, the issue is that retirement is no longer about how much you've actually saved, but it's about what kind of income your nest egg can create for you and how much risk can that portfolio or your nest egg absorb during your retirement years. For decades, $1 million was treated like the golden number for retirement. It was the number that people associated with success, security, and the good life. A paid off home, a few trips, hanging out with the grandkids, taking dinners out without any guilt. Maybe we might take the RV up to the lake or go someplace warm. But the emotional reality can still be very different for some retirees. They look at that number and they still feel pressure. And that pressure comes from one simple reality: that a retirement income number is not the same as a retirement income plan. Retirement is not lived as a $1 million account balance or a $1 million net worth. No, retirement is actually lived month to month. We have bills, groceries, utilities, technology, internet, streaming, insurance. The list goes on and on. We have to be prepared for a cash flow plan that is dynamic and ever-changing as we move through retirement. While we're working, we have a paycheck that comes in every month like clockwork. And yes, while month to month may change, if we have a tight month or a month where we overspend or we have some unexpected expenses, we have the regular paycheck to help us stay steady and know that we can be able to rebuild those balances over time. Those steady paychecks are what allow us to help grow our balances, because we're not necessarily using our nest egg to help support us while we're working. In fact, we're in growth or accumulation mode where we're putting money back to grow that nest egg. But all of that changes once we retire. Once the paycheck stops, that account balance that we've been watching starts to feel different. Every withdrawal we have feels more real. It doesn't feel like we're spending our paycheck any longer. It feels like we're spending our savings. Market drops feel very personal because there's the threat that it may impact our longevity and for the ability to money to last. Unexpected bills can really hit home. All of this raises the question, will my money last? And that's why the real question is not whether or not you've been able to save $1 million. If you have, congratulations. The question is, what kind of paycheck can that $1 million create for me in retirement? One big reason that $1 million may not feel like enough is taxes. Not all dollars are taxed the same. You see, many people who are entering into their retirement season of life, they likely have the majority of their wealth stored in a 401k or an IRA. But here's the dirty secret. Not all of that money is actually yours. There's a percentage of that account that actually belongs to Uncle Sam. It's deferred taxation inside of that account. Money inside of your 401k or your IRA is going to be taxed when you distribute it or when you take it out. So the number on your statement doesn't necessarily reflect the number or the amount that's available for you to actually spend. $1 million in a 401k is not $1 million that's spendable to you. It's $1 million minus your tax bill equals what's left over is actually yours. Taxes can also affect your Social Security, your withdrawal decisions, and other retirement costs. This doesn't mean that you should panic. It means that you should plan. We need to create a spending plan or a cash flow plan for retirement that maximizes the spendable income for you and hopefully can minimize your lifetime tax bill. Another reason that many retirees, even retirees that have been able to save up to $1 million or more, may feel pressure is healthcare and the cost of healthcare during retirement. Healthcare can be one of the most expensive things that people face during their retirement season of life. And healthcare is not just a budget category. Your health or your ability to provide for your own healthcare in retirement is directly related to your independence and autonomy and whether or not you end up being a burden on your family. Medicare can be a great help, but it does not make every cost disappear. There still may be costs for vision and dental, certain specialists, or doctors that Medicare may not cover. And that's not even including long-term care costs. And this is what makes the financial stuff become more emotional, because it becomes less and less about lifestyle and more about security. You might be thinking, can I handle a major medical or healthcare event? Can we afford care if me or my spouse actually gets sick? Will healthcare costs force us to change the life that we've been planning to live during our retirement years? That type of uncertainty can make just a portfolio feel very fragile. The next area we have to think about during retirement is inflation. Inflation can make every retirement feel like a moving target. So before we move further, let's talk about what inflation is. Inflation is the steady increase of prices over time. And for each and every person or each and every household, inflation can be quite personal because depending on what you like to do, how you live your life, inflation can hit you differently. Healthcare is one area where inflation tends to go at a faster rate than other areas, especially for retirees. So inflation, by and large, may seem like it seems under control at times based on economic reporting, but you might be personally experiencing a higher rate of inflation than other people because of what you like to do and what you need or what you want during your retirement. And the real challenge is that for many people, retirement can last 20, 25, or even 30 years. So when you enter into this retirement season of life, we're thinking about multiple decades, not just a few years. The impact of inflation over decades can absolutely be devastating. You don't want to have a retirement that's going to get smaller each and every year. I would argue that at a minimum, you want your retirement lifestyle to be able to sustain itself over the course of your retirement. And many people want to be able to do a lot of things early on in their retirement journey while they still can. They want to take those vacations and trips with their family. They want to be able to enjoy their hobbies. So for a lot of people, spending isn't necessarily linear. You may actually want to spend more money early on in your retirement than you do later on in retirement, but you have to be able to balance out, can your portfolio sustain a higher spending rate and still be viable down the road when you're going to need it to help you offset those costs of inflation? The next thing we have to think about is the market, because those market swings that you experience while working, you're contributing money into your portfolio. So you're able to throw fresh dollars into the portfolio when the market is going to be volatile to the downside. But what about in retirement when you're no longer actively contributing and you may actually be withdrawing from your portfolio? As we said, when you're working, those downturns can be uncomfortable, but you know that you've got time and future contributions to help you recover. There's been plenty of research done that shows starting with a specific amount in retirement doesn't necessarily ensure your success. In fact, a lot of it could boil down to luck. What your sequence of returns are within the markets early on in your retirement can have a significant impact on the longevity of your portfolio. And no matter what anyone says or what any person may say online, on social media, no one can predict what the market is going to do over the short run. So do we want to leave our retirement success up to just luck? Many people have tried that. They start with the same number, but have different timing and have ultimately a very different experience. This doesn't mean that retirees should avoid investing. It means that your income plan and your investment strategy need to work together. Your portfolio can't just be built for growth. You need to have set aside some resources dedicated to income and also have a growth portfolio that complements the income strategy. $1 million feels very different depending upon how much other reliable income a retiree or retiree couple has. Social Security matters. pensions matter, real estate income matters. Any reliable source of income you are going to have in your retirement matters. The more of your essential living expenses, and let's face it, many of us don't want to live on a bare budget. So when I say essential living, I'm really talking about your lifestyle. The more of your lifestyle that can be covered by your reliable income sources in retirement, the less pressure there's going to be on your overall investment portfolio. However, the opposite is also true. The less reliable your income sources will be in retirement, the more work that $1 million portfolio is going to have to do. This is what we refer to as knowing what your income floor is going to be. As I said earlier, for some retirees, their floor is going to be a combination of their Social Security paychecks, their pension income, and perhaps they have some reliable real estate income coming in. Their floor may be much higher than someone who's only going to rely on Social Security. Someone who only has Social Security is likely going to need their portfolio to do more work than someone who's got multiple layers of income going into their retirement years. One person may be using their $1 million portfolio to do all the fun things that they want to do, many of them discretionary and totally unnecessarily to just do their essential living. They may be using their $1 million portfolio to help them travel, to do charitable giving, to dote on their grandkids, to help fund college education, to take family trips. While the other couple or the other household that needs that $1 million, that $1 million is essential for them to do life on a day-to-day basis. So they may have the same exact balance sheet going into retirement, but two very different retirement income experiences. And that's one of the things we talk about all the time, is that in retirement, your experience is really going to matter because we no longer have the anchor of work to keep us grounded. So listen, in my opinion, the goal of retirement planning isn't just necessarily to make these numbers bigger, right? Because growth just solves all of our problems. We may not be able to get growth. The market winds blow on everybody. And if we have a really successful run during your retirement, fantastic. But markets can also be very finicky, and we can go through really rough patches or really rough seasons with investment returns. So our goal should be to create clarity around your income so that you have confidence no matter what's going on in the current moment, that you've got confidence that your funds are going to last. So no matter where you are on your retirement journey, if $1 million doesn't feel like enough, or if you've got less than $1 million, or you've got more than $1 million, you should review some of these questions. What are my essential monthly expenses? What lifestyle expenses do I want to include to that? How much income will my portfolio need to generate? How are those withdrawals going to be taxed? What healthcare costs should I prepare for? What happens if inflation keeps pushing these costs higher? What's my plan if the market significantly drops early on in my retirement? What expenses are flexible or expendable if I need to trim my budget? What are my legacy goals, family goals, giving goals during my retirement years? These questions are not likely going to create the same answers for everyone, but they can help us turn some of our vagueness or maybe some of our anxiety into some clarity or some clear priorities. So here's the bottom line. $1 million has been saved for retirement may be an incredible foundation. However, it does not automatically create peace of mind. Retirement confidence comes from knowing that you have a plan to address the major risk in retirement, and that you've built a plan that's going to provide for your cash flow and lifestyle needs so that you know that your income is taken care of and your portfolio truly has a long-term focus. So if you have $1 million saved and it still doesn't feel like it's going to be enough, that doesn't mean that you failed. It just may mean that you need to create a clear plan for your future. My team and I have been helping pre-retirees and retirees build strategies for their retirement futures for nearly 2 decades. If you want a plan that can help you have clarity, confidence, and a blueprint for the life you want to live, click on the link in the bio and schedule a consultation call with our team today. You've done the hard part by building the savings. Now the next step is to help you understand how those savings can work for you as a cash flow plan in retirement.